What is going on, Lucid fans? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today I want to give you a good overview of what the current data points are saying. I want to go over some positive things, some negative things that's been coming out right now, and give you my thoughts on it. Before I do, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Always greatly appreciate that. Without further ado, let's get right to it. So despite the market and a lot of other EVs being very much red today, Lucid is doing fairly well. So currently up 0.37%, and it's holding its support fairly well. And again, on a technical standpoint, it's transitioning from the lower to the higher percentile of the Bollinger Band today. So definitely a lot of positive things, but even bigger picture, operationally, there was this that did come out. So Derek Jenkins recently had a interview. So in general, he talked on a lot of different things. Why Lucid decided to go the sedan route, how they wanted a pickup truck initially. There's a lot of things that they did say, but he did verify the fact that they're going to be having that lower priced mid-size SUV. So under the future designs, that is going to be a little bit less expensive than the Air and the Gravity, but yet more youthful and more sporty. So I think in general, that's going to be a very exciting thing. I know I've brought up in the past during Q2, they said that it's going to be mid-decade, then Q3, they did say later in the decade. So it's good to see that they are back at it where they're saying it's mid-decade. So shows at least they're on schedule per se. And of course, when it came down to it, they've even said in the past, it's very much dependent on partnerships and pre-existing agreements with, for instance, like this. So battery suppliers, for instance. So right now they do have a agreement with Panasonic. It previously was with LG though. And it does look like Samsung wants to get a piece of Lucid's cake a little bit. So Samsung wants sweet battery business with Lucid Motors. So in general, I think that's a very positive sign. The fact that a lot of different manufacturers do want to work with Lucid, because I think if you take a step back, Lucid is more so the entryway into the PIF. So let's say Samsung wants a bigger picture kind of scenario, then they can just kind of work with Lucid per se, and that might get them an in with the PIF, which of course the PIF and Saudi Arabia, based on their 2030 vision, is going to be absolutely huge. So if Samsung makes a very good impression with Lucid, it could very much work in their favor. So I think in general, this is why a lot of companies do potentially want to also work with Lucid, just because of the whole PIF factor. But of course, I think that's a very big positive regardless that the PIF is behind Lucid. So don't get me wrong about what I'm saying. Let me know your thoughts on all that in the comments below. Keep in mind, I'm not a financial advisor. Do you guys' own due diligence at the end of the day. So like I said, this is some of the positives that's been coming out. So about that midsize SUV and the potential demand for, I guess, business per se for the battery technology or battery business. But there is a negative that did come out, and that is right here. So Lucid Motors recalls Lucid Air sedan for a defect that could cause a loss of power. And this is all for 2022 and also 2023 models. And this is where I kind of do get annoyed with Lucid. And I've brought his name up quite a lot, and his name is good old Jeff Curry, who is the VP of Marketing and Communications. So communications, aka investor relations, and that's obviously a big, broad aspect right there. But a lot of individuals have reached out to investor relations and asked a varying number of questions. And I was always a very big fan of Lucid Insider, as I'm sure some of you may or may not have. He told it how it is, same as myself. I like to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Investors who can't listen to the ugly maybe shouldn't be investing. As a good investor, you have to listen to all aspects of a company, good and the bad. And when it came down to it, as you can see, this is timestamped July 27th, 2022. And what does this say? Lucid Motors releases Lucid Air OAT software update version 1.2.76 for battery operation detection warning. So of course in here, he brings up that exact same thing that, give or take almost a year later, now Lucid is coming forward. And interestingly enough, based on their recent Q4 earnings, they did say this. So this came out, as you can see right at the top, February 22nd. So this is the transcripts right here. But they do say kind of in this snippet, Peter does say, our software capabilities are further demonstrated through our recent decision to initiate a voluntary recall of a small number of Lucid Airs related to a supplier issue. So in general, he's already tentatively talking about this. And so it's a very big problem, and it comes down to transparency. I absolutely love the vehicle. Don't get me wrong. I like to always give you all aspects of it. So I really like the vehicle, and that's why I'm still invested. But individuals like this, Jeff Curry, like, at what stage are they just going to let him go? Like, he is completely failing on so many different things. For a company to have such a big competitive advantage for its technology, but yet not actual advertise any aspect of that other than the occasional actual thing like this, for instance, them participating in this TV series, other than that, there's basically no marketing whatsoever. And I think, again, it comes down to him. And funny enough, Jeff Curry did actually tell Lucid Insider that he needs to reach out to, for instance, investor relations to validate all of the stuff and not spread BS or FUD, as what a lot of people like to call it. Funny enough that a year later, that turns out the Lucid Insider was very much right, and Jeff Curry, unfortunately, at what stage is he going to be canned? I think he is a big failure for Lucid, and I think in general, Lucid will definitely need to advance without Jeff Curry, in my own thoughts, of course. But like I said, I want to give you a good viewpoint on what the technicals are currently saying. So like I said, on the actual chart, it is basically sitting on that central Bollinger Band right now, which of course is fairly positive. This week there's a couple data points coming out that could really give Lucid and the broader market a little bit more of an extra boost, and that's coming out on Thursday and Friday. So GDP numbers on Thursday and PCE on Friday. And outside of that, as far as options activity, you do see a lot more call options being purchased, insinuating upside is anticipated. And when it comes down to, for instance, a secondary market, a little bit less buying. So clearly a lot of institutions maybe are taking a step back, or maybe very hesitant because of this news. I'm not really sure, but of course it might also be just a Monday and people aren't really on top of it. As far as dark pool, I'll give you guys a quick update on that. As far as that, this seems to be a little bit more active. As you can tell, this was Friday, and so it's already double the amount of transactions. But keep in mind, dark pool is very much linked to short, so I'll give you guys a quick update on that. So short score is currently 85, utilization is 100%, which hasn't really changed in a while. Shorts are in fact returning 167.75 thousand shares today. So the fact that it's green, the market is for the most part kind of reddish, definitely a very positive sign to see that they're returning. So that's how I interpret that. Of course, 22.87% of the free float is being shorted, and that works out to be about 146.56 million shares overall being shorted, and that's pretty significant. Cost to borrow is around 16.15, and that's an average, so it's kind of been the norm as of right now. You do see a broker out there that is charging people 0.35%, so definitely there's a broker out there trying to incentivize people, or at least shorts, to get into Lucid. But just putting it all in perspective, there's currently $1.2 billion worth of shorts out there, so pretty significant. As far as this number of retail investors are getting in, so clearly not really paying too much attention to this recall per se, because at the end of the day, I think this recall isn't big. So I'm not making a big deal of this per se. I think I'm just more discouraged at their lack of transparency and clearly ignoring a lot of the actual writing on the wall, such as this, which was from July 27th. So don't get me wrong. Once again, I'm not hating on Lucid for having a recall. That does happen, and the fact that they're correcting it, but it would have been nice for them to actually address it back then. But regardless, number of retail investors getting in, stochastic is currently at 66, so it is getting up there. There still is a deviation, so black line above the red, showing a nice bullish sentiment is underneath the surface at least. But if it does continue on this trend, it's going to have to consolidate a little bit. So just be aware that that might be coming the next couple of days, potentially. But like I said, bigger picture, it is above the central Bollinger Band. So generally speaking, that's fairly good. So let me know your thoughts on all of that in the comments below. If you haven't already, hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. If you do like my Lucid content and want to support the channel, take a look at my memberships, link in the description below, or just hit the join button at the bottom of the screen. One final thing I just wanted to share with you, through, take a look at this promo with moomoo, only up until March 31st, so a couple days left. And if you just sign up for a free account, you get one free stock. Each stock is valued up to $2,000, so even in among itself, that is a complete no-brainer. So link in the description below and also the comments, so definitely take a look at that. And without further ado, I appreciate you guys watching. Let's all make a lot of money on Lucid.